Everyone was afraid of the millionaire, until the new waitress humiliated him. It was early, and the dining room lay silent when the door creaked and the air seemed to shrink. One step was all it took for the cooks to exchange glances. Don Daniel Bennett had arrived. Friday after Friday, he'd march down the line of tables as if it were the runway of his private empire. He'd sit in the darkest corner, order without looking anyone in the eye, and at the slightest mistake, fire off lines sharper than a chef's knife. Before we go on, hit subscribe and ring the bell. YouTube needs to know this content is worth sharing with more people. That morning, the owner had stepped out to take care of some business, and the veteran crew in the kitchen was buzzing. Only Brooke was left. She'd been hired 3 weeks ago. Young, steady voice, she nodded politely to Daniel and flipped open her notepad. "Coffee, strong, and none of that dirty-looking water from before," he snarled without lifting his head. "Right away, sir," Brooke replied, calm and unshaken. A little while later, she returned with a steaming cup. Daniel raised an eyebrow, took a sip, and scrunched his nose like he'd tasted poison. With a snap, the porcelain clicked against the table. The coffee sloshed across the cloth and splattered anyone nearby. The customers froze mid-chew, but Brooke didn't back down. She draped her towel over her forearm and with a slight smile leaned in like she was about to share a secret. The whole room held its breath. The cup's snap against the counter silenced the cafe. "This coffee is undrinkable," the man in the suit shouted, his voice tearing through the air. Brooke met his gaze, took a steady breath, and held his fury without flinching. "Do you think it's the coffee that tastes bad or something you brought from home?" she asked, loud enough for everyone to hear. The place went still. Forks hung in midair. The hiss of the espresso machine froze in the steam. No one dared step in. Suddenly, the customer stood up, nearly tipping his chair. "Do you know who you're talking to?" he growled. "I get treated like royalty everywhere I go." Brooke didn't budge. Even though her hands trembled under her apron, her face stayed composed. "Respect isn't earned by yelling," she shot back. A murmur rippled through the tables like wind through curtains. For the first time, someone was standing up to him. "This isn't over," the millionaire thundered, his hand pounding the gleaming watch on his wrist. The kitchen door flew open. 3 co-workers rushed out. One of them, an old acquaintance of the customers, tried to smooth things over. "Don Daniel, sorry. She just doesn't know how we do things here yet." At the words, Brooke felt the ground give way beneath her. It wasn't enough to stand up to the bully. She had to face a system that bowed to power. All eyes in the dining room fixed on her, waiting for her next move. But the story was far from over. Daniel leaned back again, flashing a crooked smile. "You know who I am, girl? You're about to find out, and it'll be your last shift. Before we go on, hit subscribe and ring the bell. YouTube needs to know this content is worth sharing with more people." He pulled out his phone and typed fast, confident that all it took was a call to the owner. Brooke felt her throat go dry, but she kept her stance. She'd faced arrogant people before, never under so many eyes. Some watched Daniel expectantly, others looked downright scared. An older woman with gray hair stood up, took Brooke's hand and whispered, "Don't let him shake you. Someone needs to put that peacock in his place." Brooke gave a quick nod of thanks, just as Daniel's harsh voice cut through. "Someone get this insolent girl out of my sight or I'll do it myself." The buzz grew. Phones popped up behind coffee cups, recording everything. The video voiceover kicked in. "Like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments, whose side are you on?" Daniel stormed up to the counter, fist clenched. "I want the manager now." The manager explained he wasn't in. The visitor laughed, icy. "Then I'll call the one who is. No one disrespects me and gets away with it. This girl won't even be allowed to serve a glass of water." Apron stained, eyes wet but steady, Brooke drew a deep breath. "If you plan on knocking me down, do it looking in my eyes, but don't expect me to stay silent." The dining room rumbled again when a deep voice echoed by the door and shut everyone up at once. Attentive, the crowd saw a man in a gray suit appear, his carved wooden cane firmly in hand. He wasn't tall or fierce-looking, but the moment he stepped through the doorway, servers and cooks straightened up like pieces on a chessboard. "What's going on here?" he asked, sharp. Daniel turned pale. Standing before him was Don Parker Foster, the restaurant's owner and the mentor who'd guided him for 2 decades. The businessman had been watching from afar, noticing how his protégé treated the staff with arrogance. Trying to save face, Daniel pointed at the young woman by the service station. "She disrespected me. You know I deserve deference." A small gesture from Parker hushed the defense. "Sit down, Daniel." The order was final. Brooke, not knowing who the newcomer was, stayed firm but alert. Parker turned to her. "You're the new waitress?" She nodded. "Thank you for your courage. Now get back to work." The air seemed to shift. Daniel, restless, stood up, finger raised. "You're siding with her? I've invested fortunes here and brought in clients, and she's just a waitress." His words still ringing when Parker's silence spoke volumes. The night was far from over. Don Parker stepped forward slowly, never losing his composure. "You've forgotten what respect is," he said firm. "In minutes, this young woman has shown more character than you have in 5 years. I don't care about the money you bring if it costs someone their dignity." Daniel went white, his posture collapsed. The once noisy dining room sank into tense silence. Some customers applauded softly. Servers exchanged relieved looks. Still, he snapped back, "This is betrayal. My name is worth gold in this town. I'll destroy this place. No one crosses me, especially not this employee." Tired of the shouting, Parker raised his voice. "Enough, Daniel. If you storm out making threats, don't ever set foot in any of my businesses again. You're banned, and your reputation now belongs to everyone who saw who you really are." Daniel, red with rage, knocked over a chair and stormed out. Phones followed his exit, capturing every step. Brooke stood there, unsure whether to feel relief or fear. Parker walked over and pulled out a chair for her. "Today was rough. It shouldn't have ended like this. But I promise you this, as long as I'm here, no one will ever raise their voice at you again." The words felt like a safe haven. For the first time, Brooke felt seen, respected, protected. In the days that followed, rumors and curious glances filled the air, a sign of more twists to come. The city buzzed when the uncut videos showed the moment Brooke stared down the tycoon. The footage spread screen to screen, and within minutes, social media erupted in applause. The restaurant, far from emptying out, became a must-visit spot. People wanted to see the waitress who stood up to the market's most feared man. Flowers sat on the counter, notes of support came in with orders, and Brooke, without meaning to, became a symbol of dignity. On the other side of the story, Daniel's calendar emptied as he scrambled for a PR rescue. Calls went straight to voicemail. Meeting invites were ignored. His arrogance had shut doors no amount of money could reopen. The contrast became even clearer when Don Parker gathered the team and, before a packed dining room, announced that Brooke would be the new service coordinator. "Here," he said, "we don't reward submission, we reward courage." She accepted, not for the title, but for what that trust meant. Now every guest who walks through the door knows there's no room for abuse or empty displays of power here. The clink of cutlery sounds different, and the wine goes down smoother because respect has become part of the menu. Brooke keeps her uniform simple and her smile modest, but no one forgets the moment she lifted her chin and broke the fear. Some gestures, even without words, reshape the whole place. Masks fall, appearances deceive, but dignity remains non-negotiable. And if this story moved you, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs a push of courage, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapters. See you next time.